Hello guys, welcome to episode 15 of my GBS Zero build. I'm Professor Ron, we're in the G Lab, and in this episode we're going to be doing some science experiments on the kit car. Okay, so it's really me, Super Ron. We're not really going to harm the kit car with some experiments, but what we do need is this for today's episode. So a bit of fun there, inspired by McFarlane Laboratories with Dr. Spray'emall. What we're going to do today is something that came up as a few questions in the last episode, was about the combustion chamber volume as it's been modified, how well it's been done, and also what the final result is. So an easy way to do it is by CCing the head. So I haven't actually done it before, but I've had a look up, and what you need is a little burette. This is eBay Finest $6.99, and quite surprisingly it's come through as a glass one, not a plastic one. And all it is a case of put a bit of Perspex over your combustion chambers with a hole in each, and fill up each chamber with a solution and find out if they're all matching. So let's have a go at that. So in a previous episode, when we were checking whether the valves were seated, what we did is we filled it up with brake cleaner and checked if some leaked out. So we're going to be doing a very similar process to this, but we're going to be measuring the exact amount in each chamber. One, to see if they match, and just to see if they're any bigger or smaller than a standard cylinder head. You remember I put these all in order, so when they sit back in, they'll be sealed to their seats. And so I've read online, we're going to give it a go. You don't have to reassemble the whole head. What you can do is get a valve out, and if you put a bit of grease around there, that should seal the chamber, and that'll just save me reassembling the whole head with all the springs and all those very annoying collets. And that's all 16 valves sitting back in. As you can see, they haven't got the springs or anything in, but that should seal enough to do the test. It's not a long leak down test like I did before. It's just going to be filling it up and see how much each one holds. So the next thing is to put the Perspex top on, so we need 4 holes. And to make sure nothing leaks out the sides, apparently we can just put a little bit of grease around. So hopefully that sealed that up. So now we've got an exact flat edge on the top of each chamber we can measure to. So we'll fill it up until it comes out of the hole. So the fluid that we're working with, you don't really want to use water, because water does some really weird things with surface tension, and it's always good to use spirits. So in the last time we used brake cleaner, but a little tip from Blue on Blue Racing in a previous episode, he said use methylated spirits because it's purple, so it's a lot easier to see. So we've got it in our burette here, and basically the burette has numbers, can't really see, there we go, 4, 5, 6, so it starts at 0, and then however much you let out, the bottom is what it goes down to, and that's how much is in your cylinder. So what they say to start with is overfill it slightly, open the little tap, and we're starting on 0. So now whatever goes into that cylinder, we'll be able to measure on these numbers to how much goes in. So let's get set up. So we're all zeroed up, and all we've got to do now is let it trickle in and see how much it fills up to. Great little tip there from Blue on Blue about using the methylated spirits. It's a lot easier to see. When we were washing out and checking for levels before with brake cleaner, it wasn't really clear on the camera. But you can see on this one, we're filling up. Bit of a leaky tap there, bit of eBay quality. Filling up. We are losing our level as well. I don't know if this is all going to go in one go. We might have to refill halfway. We're going to make it. No, we're going to run out. I'll stop it at 25 so we know where we're at. Or stop that there. Let's refill it back up. So back at 0 again. See how much more can go in. Cool, it's reached the top, there's an air bubble. So I've read that we've got to tilt it around a bit to get rid of this air bubble. See it coming around the chamber, so that is making a difference having this cut out, which is what we're checking. Try and get this bubble out. One of them circus games. So it looks like we've done quite well sealing all the valves. The grease has worked. And it's acting as a head gasket as well. Need to get this last little bubble out. And I'd say that is full there. So we've got that down to 24 plus a whole 25. So I think these are millilitres. Right, I thought we needed a plan B because I wasn't very happy how much was leaking out of the tap, because obviously every bit that's leaking out is being counted but not actually going into the combustion chamber. So I've drilled an extra hole here on each one, so that's going to do two things. It will allow the air bubbles to come out a bit easier, and also what I'm hoping is it's going to drip down and drip in there. So let's try again. Well, that's typical, it's not actually leaking now. We'll carry on like this and see if we can get the full volume in there. Oh, there's a leak. And it's not going. That's not going to work. Oh, one drip went in. No. Not happy with that. Right, let's try something else. Okay, so you saw me there try and seal the tap, see if we could work out why it's not leaking, and I think I have got it sealed. So we'll try again, because it has stopped leaking, so we should get everything in the chamber now. Oh, son of a biscuit. Okay, next plan. As we can't get this to stop leaking, I'm going to use gravity to my advantage, so when it does leak down, it's going to leak and still go into the combustion chamber. So we'll still be measuring everything that goes through the tube. Let's try plan C. So interestingly, we're about halfway through because we've got one full burette in there, and it's only come about 3/4 of the way up the valves. So we've still got another whole burette to go in again, which is only for this top half. So that just shows when you skim ahead how much of the combustion capacity is actually lost, because every one is quite significant. So let's refill, get this filled up, and do the other 4. I'm happy with that. We've got no spillage, so we're measuring everything that's going inside. And the results are in. They're all very close, they're almost matching, they're all within half a cc of each other, and that could well be just down to me how I measured it, but they're between 42.5 and 43, and what I've read online is a standard head should be 43 cc's. So I don't think any of the machine work or any of these blobs that have been welded in have really affected it at all. So it's a good head. I think we're all good there. But as we have got a standard head here with no machine work whatsoever, and it's a very similar skim, I think we might as well just CC one of these and just see how it compares. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a very accurate reading off the standard head. I think just because it's in such bad condition, the fluid was just leaking past the valves as I was filling it up. But according to the internet, these combustion chamber volumes should be 43 cc each. And when I measured mine, I was getting very close to that. They were coming up about 42.6, 42.7. So it might be not completely accurate, my readings as I was putting it in, but it gives me a good guide to know that they're all even and they're pretty close to a standard setup. So why were we trying to find out what the combustion chamber volume was on this engine? What is the point? Well, this is how you calculate compression ratio. As the piston's coming up and down, the bigger or smaller this affects the compression ratio. The standard compression ratio on a C20XE is 10:1. Now in my turbo days, it's so much easier to gain power. All you do is just get the turbo to force more boost, more air in and add more fuel. But on normally aspirated tuning, it's very difficult to get more air in because the piston can only draw as much as the stroke will allow. So how you gain power is by upping the compression ratio, squishing the air more, and then when it explodes, you get a bigger bang. Now you have to be a little bit careful because if you go too far with compression ratios, you start to get a lot of problems and you get a too big a bang. So the pistons that I've got are a bit of the middle of the range. They're a compression ratio of 11.6:1 on a standard engine. And now we know that our head is pretty much the same dimensions as a standard engine. We can confirm that the compression ratio for this build is going to be 11.6:1, which is middle of the range, and that's going to give us a nice gain in performance. So now we've got one more answer, one more when the engine build is complete. We will be able to check this as well. But according to all the specs of the Omega pistons, of the size of the cylinder head, we should be running a compression ratio of 11.6:1. So that'll put me in a quite comfortable tuning position and we'll be able to get it revving up high and make some good power. So it just goes to show that you don't need to spend a lot of money on high-tech equipment to check the combustion chamber volume of your head. This was just a bit of perspex out of a shed window or something, and this was the budget £6 eBay barrette. Maybe if I'd gone to the £9 one, we might have not had a leaky tap and it would have been a lot easier because we'd just straight down in there. But we put it on the tilt and it worked okay. So I think it's going to wrap this episode up now. It was quite a bit of fun dressing up as Professor Ron earlier, and we got some science done. In the next few episodes, we'll be back on the kit car, actually doing build progress. So make sure you give this video a like if you like the technical side of things, but be sure to subscribe because in the next few videos, we'll be back on the kit car, back doing actual progress. So be sure to tune in, and until next time, make sure you have fun. Lucky you guys haven't got smell-o-vision because this stuff stinks like cheap wine.